My name is Larry Pitts. I'm the owner of Let's Travel travel agency in Ronan, Montana. Previous manager came to me and said, Larry, we would like you to be the owner of our business. And we know what kind of person you are. We want you to be our owner. And so he brought the numbers to me. I looked at it. I took my life savings that I had at that time from my other businesses that I was involved with, and we invested. We proceeded to lose $105,000 over the next 2 years, which was, my house was hawked on that, and probably my kids and my wife. And but not being a quitter, and one of the reasons I'm not willing to quit is being a Native American. I wasn't willing to let it be said that another Indian business failed. I bought Let's Travel in October of 1992. If I had to do it over again, I probably wouldn't have done it, because at that time we didn't have a business marketing section in our college in Pablo. And so I went into it really blind. I didn't do a market study, so I didn't have a business plan, a marketing plan when I went into it. I listened to the manager at that time, who is no longer with me. And I learned a lot by trial and error. A lot of mistakes were made. We have tried a vast amount of marketing. We found what works, what doesn't work, but we're still open to a lot of the future, on what's going to happen in the future, because the travel world is changing so much. And so we went back and started to do a lot more research in what we had to do to change things, became more efficient. The employees, being in a rural area, has always been one of our major problems of drawing from a qualified pool. Through a lot of prayer, everything else, I've got a great staff now. And continue to lift them up, because without them, I wouldn't have a business. When I first bought this business, it was really amazing, because as I was buying the business, a franchise possibility came by, and it was called Uniglobe. And out of, again, not having a business plan, a marketing plan, listening to my previous manager, who didn't have, he had a lot of experience in selling tickets, but he didn't have experience in expenses. We bought into the franchise of Uniglobe, which is a good franchise. But being in the rural area, it really didn't fit for what we needed. And what happened was, by being in a franchise, if you don't have the right capital behind you, they pull from you every month. They affect your cash flow so much, because they're willing, and they're going to take their money. And sometimes your money doesn't come as quick as they promised you it would come. And so, all in all, Uniglobe cost me, that's a big part of my original loss, was going into Uniglobe. We sold out to it. We got in a lot of outside sales agents, put them on commission, which is a very tough thing to do, because it's hard for people to live on a commission base, and to continue to grow, to keep their enthusiasm up, trying to look at the future, knowing they have to get new accounts all the time, have to be traveling. And in the end, it cost us pretty dearly. And it doesn't say that franchises are bad, but that wasn't our niche. We didn't need that niche. My niche is that I'm tribal. I'm a Native American. We have a lot of that travel. We have a lot of local travel that didn't need to know a franchise. And in fact, in my research later, when I went around, if I'd asked 100 people if they knew that Uniglobe was a franchise like McDonald's, maybe one did, maybe two. And so their name wasn't a marketing tool for us. And in fact, people just knew us as Uniglobe. They thought that was our travel agency name. They didn't realize it was a McDonald's type of thing. And so, in the end, without doing the original study, having those plans that we could have had today, mistakes were made. But because of that, because of the valleys, we learned a tremendous amount. If we had come in and been on the peaks all the time, we could have got suckered into some really tough things in the future. I really feel now we've developed an agency, a business that is solid. It's got a foundation of rock, And I've got the employees who are doing the things that I need them to do, and they have the vision, and they know that I'm willing to give back to Indian country. I'm willing to give back to service because it's important. One of my favorite sayings is, I've never seen a U-Haul pull a hearse. I mean, a hearse pull a U-Haul. And you know, I see greed come into a lot of people, and that's not what's going to make a business work. You know, if you go into business to make a lot of money, the problem that you end up doing is you're so involved in making money that you forget about taking care of the little things. And the future of this business will be here for a long time. And to do that, you got to continue to work and find out where the mistakes are, find out where your weaknesses are, and to strengthen those up. Keep your strong points going forward. I always try to tell my people, let's be progressive, not aggressive. There's a big difference. You know, someone who's aggressive tends to turn people off. Cash flow is very, very important for a small business. And you can get suckered in sometimes to believing that you can, you know, allow cash flow to really be tight, but what happens is you become the bank. Accounts receivable kills a lot of small businesses, and that's one of the keys in life. You know, as I bought this business, being a tribal member, we looked at the Indian country and said, man, it's such a wide open field, and you know, we're going to service this business like it's never been serviced before this field, and there's just a vast amount of tribal Indian business out there to be covered, and I thought, man, it's all going to come into us right away, and we're going to take it, and we're going to run with it. And it didn't happen right off the bat. Reason being is too often people come in and they prostitute their Indian blood. They come into a business, they have no credibility yet. And in Indian culture, it seems that we are more cautious than a lot of cultures. And it's hard to get their attention. You know, one of my biggest problems I've had is, how do I reach these bigger markets in Indian country? And one of it is in my spiritual self, I pray and I ask for God, the Creator's guidance, and He's brought in some business to me that is just amazing. And we've built a brochure, a business brochure to go out. We've tried the outside salespeople, and you know, if I were totally self-sufficient on this travel agency, if I didn't have other businesses, I would probably be on the road 4 to 6 days a week going out to these places, and I would be selling myself to them, and that would work. But because of my health and because of my relationship with my family, I want to be with my children. What we are doing is we're continually setting out the brochures, contacting, trying to find the right people. But I think one of the best things I see in the future is that we as tribal business people start to network together. And by networking, I've made the offer to 3 other tribal businesses, private businesses, that I will send out their brochures in my tickets to people all over the country as a way of promoting them. And I'm not asking anything in return, but in the same breath, I could say, what I could ask in return is that then when they see business, they can network and tell them about me and how legitimate my business is and what we can provide for them in the future. And I think that's part of it. You know, we've gone on the internet now. We're building a new web page so that people can punch in and see who we are. We're on the reservation, the different things that we do. But I think my push right now is to learn to network with other businesses. I think that the problem that we've run into in Indian country is a lot of our business people are closed-mouthed, that they're not willing to share with the other people. They're scared it's going to take away from their little niche, and it's not going to. The market is so vast, so huge that as we start to explore private enterprise, it's going to just escalate for us, and that's the key, I think, to the future, is as we network with each other, quit being so territorial, that we can have a huge amount of success in business. Being a Native American is respecting your elders and the environment around you and those around you. And you know, when I give talks and I try to go into schools and I walk the halls and I listen to them, and you know, so often what I hear is negative. I hear them ripping each other apart. I don't hear a lot of uplifting, and everything's in a negative. It's going into a hole. It's going down into this whirlpool. But I was raised on the river down in Dixon, and there used to be eddies, and you get caught in an eddy every once in a while. My dad taught me at a very young age, if you get caught in an eddy, you don't fight against it. What you do is you let it take you down until you hit the bottom, and then you swim out as fast as you can. And it works very well. But it's hard to do because of those around you, or your own feelings tell you to fight back for my own. And out of respect is, you don't have to accept a slam or a negative comment, because it's not negative unless you receive it. And you can call me anything you want, and that's your choice. In some cultures it might be good, and in our culture it might be bad, but so you just put yourself into another culture where it might be good and not to receive it. And you know, because of the respect issue, most people are just scared of who they are. That's why they don't let other people in, and so they try to put this false wall up of chasing people away, and that's when no respect happens. And if I can teach one thing, and that is to respect other people. I respect other faiths besides my own. I can't change anybody. I can only do my walk. And if my walk was an example to change somebody toward the way I am, well, great. Maybe great. I don't know if they want to be as crazy as I am. But respect and humbleness go hand in hand. And that's been my prayer for the last month, is make me humble, keep me humble, and allow me to give back. You know, and I think that's what we need to start to look at in Indian country, even in the world, is how do we give back? How do we remain humble? Because we didn't make any of this happen. You know, I can't make any of this stuff in this room happen without being alive. And so it's a gift to be alive. And so that's how I respect life. I shared positives about business, and I've shared the negatives about business. And there's times when I say, man, if I had just taken that money and just put it in the bank and sort of rested on my laurels, life could have been a lot less stressful. I can't imagine not doing business. In fact, I'm addicted to business, but in a way because it opens up the opportunity for me to touch people. People say, Larry, how can you like business so much? I see it as an opportunity to reach out and touch people and to show them their strengths. It goes back to even my health of being physically not well from the diabetes, and I don't regret it. Now, if someone says, well, if you could be cured of it, would you do that? I say, yes, I would. But what it has done for me, it has opened up so many doors for me to touch people in a way that they've never been touched. You know, and business and my health go hand in hand because they are extensions of who I am, and they open up doors that would have never been open to me. And I have gotten credibility, have been given credibility that I would have never had if I had never been in business or if I had never been unhealthy. You have to make a profit in business, you know, and some people say, well, how can you be spiritual and make a profit? Well, by what you do with that profit. You know, now if you take that money, you spend it in ways that aren't healthy, and you use it to destroy people, then it's not, I don't care who has that money, that's not good. But if you use it for the betterment of people, you know, the profit I make in this business goes back to my people who work for me. You know, the profits that I make in this business, which aren't much at this point, still they go to my family, you know, and it supports them. And, you know, God has never asked me to lay down the profits that I make in business. And I can go to sleep at night because I know we haven't ripped somebody off. I know that we keep everything above the board. I believe that everybody has potential. I believe we're all achievers. I don't believe in the word overachieve, because if you overachieve, you have no potential. So we all need to achieve our own potential. And so this is what ended happening in Indian country is I looked and said, how do we get into this? How do we find our niche? And so it's one of my struggles, because even today, most of our Indian travel is local or certain groups, associations, and a lot of places still aren't traveling with us because they're comfortable with their own local non-tribal travel agency.
Who are your customers?
Right now we have Confederate Salish and Kootenai tribes. We have the Salish and Kootenai College. We do some of the Blackfeet administration travel. We do some of we do the housings travel. NISBA, National Indian School Board Association's travel. AHAC, we do some of their travel. AIO, we do some of their travel. You know, and it sounds like a lot, but you know, there's the gaming industry has gotten very huge. And I know their directors are not using, you know, a Native American travel agency. There's just there's so much travel out there that can be harnessed in. And out of I won't say how many Indian travel agencies there are in the country. I know that 3 or 4 are the legitimate ones. You know, and that's always been one of the big faults in Indian country because of minority preference rules and this kind of stuff, that there's a lot of fronts in business. And I would never be a front. I had been approached about it in my life a couple of times. Being a businessman, they'd say, well, geez, you got your Indian blood, let's bring you in and do that. I call that prostitution, in my opinion. And we need to start to go out and stand on our own feet, be willing to take that risk, because there is a huge risk in business. We lost $105,000 the first 2 years, and we've got to get that part back out of the bank. We've got to get them paid back off. I don't believe in debt. And when we get that back, I want to put in the greatest profit sharing program that's ever been seen, because if they're taken care of, everyone's going to want to leave this place. And I want people knocking on the door saying, we want to come to work for you from other parts of the country. And as you give back to your employees, I believe that they will give back to you. And I see so many owners that say, I can't pay anything but minimum wage. Well, maybe that's true, but maybe there's some other ways you can entice that and build on that. And then it takes just the maturity of your employees to realize what the future is. They got to have that same vision, and that doesn't always happen. You know, I wish I could say that we have never gone through employees here, but we have. And you know, my first manager who lost me the money, I didn't really fire him, but I found him a new job. And he used to say, we're going around this big corner, we're almost around the corner. And one day I walked in and said, Dave, you know that big corner you're going around? Yours is going the other way. And but you know, I care about the people who work for me, and I've never had a person that worked for me that I didn't really care for. But sometimes it just didn't work, that their personality didn't match the businesses, or they didn't treat the customer the way they need to be treated, and so we had to find them a new job. I think tribal governments can start to look at private business and find ways to run themselves more efficiently and effectively, because you have to be careful about how your A to Z is run, and you know how your little expenditures can start to add up to become big expenditures. And I would like to see the government, tribal governments, start to use small businesses more effectively, that say, hey, we come in, we're trusting you now, this is what our idea is. You know, work together with them and find ways of saving money. You know, a lot of the tribal governments that we work with want to book their own hotels and cars. Why? I have no idea, because what it is not cost effective that they have a secretary doing that. Let us do that. You know, trust us that we'll find you the best deal. But that's the thing I think we have to deal with, is getting that trust going back and forth. And the problem I see with tribal governments is that they keep changing. You know, every election you have X amount of people coming in and leaving, and so there's a new education process going on all the time, and quite often we end up with a tribal government who's not real effective in a business area. It's always been my opinion that we should have a culture council and a tribal council, you know, a business council, and that they have to work together, because it's hard to be in the business realm and in the culture realm and have the balance of both as one individual. I could do all sorts of tours to culturally sensitive areas and this kind of stuff and do some huge promotions. Again, I'm not willing to do that. I think that there's a sensitivity level there that you have to work with our culture committees and know where they're at. I think that there's certain things that are private, that are very spiritual, that are not to be exposed. And you know, as we go into these realms, it's what's going to make this thing work so you don't get into the wrong areas is that you got to communicate. You got to continue to talk to the right places and to the right people. And again, not to let the greed come in, to remain humble. I'm a risk taker. I've had tremendous support from my family, from my wife, my children, that they trust me. But more than that, I think God has been really gracious to me and has allowed and showed me a lot of ways to be sensitive to people, to try to treat everybody as the most important person to me. And I hope that I don't come across as a judge. I hope I don't come across as somebody who knows everything, because I don't. What I do know is that it's all been tried before, and I've got to wade through things. I need to use the resources around me, and I need to use the people of strength around me, and I need to communicate with those people. And as I do that, it makes me into a better person, because I become more of what is around me. I become aware of it. And I think awareness goes a long ways in life. Physically, I'm not very healthy. I have a lot of problems with, I'm a diabetic, and yet I probably work 70 hours a week. And my wife was giving me a lecture last night about I got to slow up. And so I came in this morning at 5:30 instead of 5. I gave her a half hour. And but you know, I believe that we've been given a tremendous gift. We're caretakers. And that's how I feel the people that work for me. I love them. I care for them. And hopefully it comes back to me. And I believe the future is very bright for anybody who is Native American, because of certain things that are going to still open up. But I think the window is starting to close. And we've got to get on our feet. And I think our tribal governments are going to start to see less and less money come in, as we're seeing right now. And so what it's going to have to take is we as people are going to have to become healthier. And by becoming healthier, that means business and going in that type of direction. If my vision goes through, you know, we'll have a number of people coming back here who are educated that will want to open their own businesses instead of, you know, when I talk to young kids in my talks, I ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up? And they say, come back and work for the tribe. I'm hoping that what they'll say is, oh, I want to come back and own McDonald's. I want to come back and own Total Homes. I want to come back and own Let's Travel. I want to see them have vision of owning businesses. And then they'll travel more. And that'll support my kids for the future. You know, my vision of life in this reservation are pretty amazing. Today is May 7th, and you know, I was given a kidney transplant 6 years ago, May 17th, and they told me at that time I would live probably 6 years. So I've got 10 more days to be alive, and I don't think that's true, and unless I have a car wreck or something. But you know, it's amazing what my vision of this place is. We have one of the most awesome places. I'm looking out at the mountains right now, and by this afternoon it's supposed to be blue skies, and those mountains are just going to be majestic. And those mountains give me strength as I look at them, because there are peaks up there that are almost, you can't even climb them. And then there's valleys there that sometimes get so low that when you're looking up you can't see anything but the Creator. And as I look at that, I see the reservation as future. I see hope here. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. I don't know if it's going to be the same as it is today. In fact, I know it's not going to be. I think we're going to have to be more technical at what we do. We're going to have to be better at what we do. It's my prayer that it stays pristine, that the mountains stay pure, that the valley stays pure, and the tribe has actually done that for us. But business is going to come in. People are going to come in. They have found us already. And so we're going to have to service that. My dream, my vision for this reservation is by that time it's my hope that more tribal members have their own businesses, that they're supporting each other, that they're not tearing at each other, trying to tear them down. They're not upset that somebody's maybe driving a new car. I'll never drive one because it's a bad investment. But you know, I look at that. I'm glad to see people that have success, and I praise them for that because they deserve that. And if they want to have a new car, that's great that they have a new car. You know, I was trying to figure out what's the toughest problem I have in the travel business, and that's my employees. I hate them. I jokes. You know, the employees make the business work, and they are the foundation because you've heard on this tape of how many things that I do. I can't come in here and manage this place. I have a manager. His name is Steve Hoteling, and I have entrusted him with the future of my family. You know, I put pressure on him and say, you know, you make this place work, and that's my children's future. And my employees, sometimes they don't understand how much I care for them, and I'm willing to back them. But that is the basis of business, because if they're not happy, their service isn't going to be as good to the customer. And if that's not good, people aren't going to come to us. And but my philosophy is to give back to them. We actually gave away 1/10 of our profit last year to the college, and what originally was intended was 1/10 of our commission base to the college, and actually 10%. And as it turned out, that turned out to be about 10% of our whole profit margin last year. But you know what? It will be multiplied tremendously because I love the college's travel, and I think it's one of the things that a lot of private business needs to get back into is to give back, you know, and build that structure, because the more businesses on the reservation that are solid, those people are going to be willing to travel more. You know, take business as a spiritual walk. Don't take it as a greed factor. Don't go into something to make a ton of money if you aren't willing to share it. You know, don't be willing to go out there and take that risk unless you're willing to share of yourself. You know, business is a gift. You know, communication is a gift. You know, and if you go into business and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. What it means is that wasn't the right opportunity, there wasn't the right time. Don't be scared about taking a risk. I see people who get too conservative. The seventh generation philosophy is interesting to me because it's very scriptural. I was just at a wellness conference that said we are into the seventh generation, and so how much further past does that go? I don't know. I am more concerned with the next generation than I am the seventh generation, and if I can get my children to be stewards of their generation and the future generation, that we'll get to the seventh generation and we'll be healthier, much healthier. I work 40 hours for the tribe every week. I run the fitness centers for the tribes. I give motivational talks for the tribes. I travel from one end of the reservation to the other at the tune of thousands of miles. My car's a 1992 Honda Civic, and I got 181,000 miles on it right now, mostly between Arlee and Elmo, which is a distance of probably 90 miles. My job with the tribe is pretty vast because I also do therapy for them. I do about 160 treatments a month for them on bad backs and bad necks. And then just top it off, I also have a pine cone business that I send semis of pine cones all over the country for places like potpourri and fire starters. That's one of my goals in this world is to start to promote Indian business, not owned by the tribes themselves, but by the tribal members. I've come up with a new idea about internships of putting tribal members into non-tribal businesses and eventually buying that business out, coming up through the back door. Michelle doesn't even know this one yet, but I found 2 businesses on the reservation that want to do this already. And so there's a vast amount of future for us. There's a vast amount of opportunity, but the window's starting to close. I feel that Big Brother is not going to be around very long, which is the federal government in backing Indian country. And I think that we have to start to get on our own feet and start to become ingenious in what we do, become business people of the future. And there is a lot out there to handle. Tribal people have to start to support tribal business. And so I'll make a little plea right now. Whoever's listening to this, if you're at another college someplace or another program, take a look at supporting a tribal business. Even if you have to spend a little bit more, you know that they're putting money back into your tribe, into the reservation, into your people. And I see people who come in who want to go someplace on a vacation where they've never been, and they've saved their money for 10 years, and you have the opportunity to help fulfill that dream. You know, then you got a businessman who's all stressed out, who needs to get to this place as fast as he can and get back as fast as he can, and you can help him out. You know, and I love to hear the positives, and I get to hear the negatives, and that happens too, and mistakes do happen, but the positives always outweigh the negatives when you look for the positives. And you know, so it's been a great business that way. And there's been times I think, well, I should have sold it. Why did I do this? But in the end, I don't know what I would be doing. I mean, heck, where would I go at 5:30 in the morning?